Everybody's had their coffee, first session for the day probably? Great. Thank you for joining us on Monday. Historically, we've not had breakouts on Monday, and this year they've added into it. I've been doing this session for the past few years. It's always been in the enterprise track. It's been at a 200 level or a 300 on the technical deep dive. And as I was looking at feedback a couple of months back from prior reInvent on what you'd like to see the next time, there's a common theme of feedback across that, hey, technical deep dives are great, but we have YouTube videos, there's documentation, we have our technical team to help us. We want to learn more about customer journey, lessons learned, challenges that you've seen across customers. So as I was starting to prepare content, I kind of tweaked the content accordingly. So what we want to do today is talk about what those challenges are, what we've seen, some of the best practices. And joining me today is Rajiv Khanna, CIO from Aeon, here to share his experiences on how they tackled the complex migration and transformation. We'll also cover some roundup of new announcements towards the end. And it's going to be a packed session, but we'll be here after the session outside to chat with anybody that's interested or questions. Happy to chat with you. With that said, let's get started. As we talk to customers like you, meetings or customer technical meetings and EBCs, one of the things that I usually ask customers, what stalled your migration? Why is it taking so long? Or what are some of the challenges that you see when you sit down to go through this migration journey? And the feedback varies. Some of them are technical. We have a complex environment, very specific licensing needs. Our teams, there's teams across the globe, getting them aligned on processes is difficult. So it ranges across a variety of reasons that come. And mostly, if I were to categorize these into the three buckets, it's probably something all of you are familiar with: people, process, and technology. People, of course, large-scale migration involves a number of teams, a more number of people. Anytime there's more number of people, there's different architecture designs on the board. There's different opinions as well. Getting all of them aligned can be a challenge. Processes, different BUs, your infrastructure team, your cloud team, your DevOps team, your IT team, a lot of teams. Each of these teams have their own process, their own runbooks that they follow. Getting all of them aligned is, again, a challenge. And finally, the technology. This is where it's the number of VMs, or I have a complex environment. Some of the apps I don't want to move versus some I do want, and there's dependencies between these apps. So all these challenges contribute to some of those difficulties we've seen with large-scale migrations. Before we look into some of the best practices and what we've learned from our customers that's helped them across people, process, and technology challenge, I want to talk about the three major elements that you should look at: scope, strategy, and timeline. Starting with scope, it's very important as you sit down on your migration plan, as you set the stage for your migration. What is in scope, what is out of scope? That needs to be clearly defined in the beginning. And you can do this by working backwards on what your business outcome is. What do you want to achieve? What is the why behind your migration? And then put in, hey, this is going to be in scope, this is out of scope. One thing we've seen across our customers is the scope can change, so please have some flexibility. We've seen customers who've added new projects, or the scope can also shrink as well. The next is the strategy. This is very important, by far the most important. You need to, as I said, why are you migrating, and how does your teams, are they aware of that strategy? What's the vision behind your migration plan? Communicating this down to your teams becomes very important because they need to understand the reason behind this migration. And you need to, that communication to the different teams will get you alignment, get them to talk to one another. Because I've seen infrastructure teams where their goal is, hey, I have these servers that I'm running. I want to quickly migrate, no refactoring. I don't want to do any modernization right now. Versus there's other teams that want to take the time to modernize and then move. We've seen successful, faster migrations whenever possible when customers migrate first and then look at their modernization practice. Timelines. Everybody wants to complete migrations quickly as possible. And I tell this, the faster you migrate, the higher your chances of success are. The stalled migrations, more scope comes and creeps in, and it may change your plan and change the timeline. Define what those timelines are, and this is not just like, hey, I want to migrate by 2025. Yes, that's a good starting point, but have those defined phases. Phase 1, by end of 2023, I want to do X. By end of 2024, we might have migrated out of our data center, for example. And I think this is where the AWS structured approach to migration comes in. The assess, mobilize, and migrate and modernize, a lot of our customers follow this approach. The assess is usually your discovery stage. You look at what you have, you assess your environments, data could be spread out across, depending on, you assume you have a CMDB, you have all the collection of data. You assess what needs to be in your migration plan. I would say spend a lot of time in this discovery and assessment phase. Then moving on to the mobilize, this is where you want your teams. We talked about different BUs. How do they gain confidence? Get them started with a simple POC. Give them the environment to bring up that POC and validate their environment, ensuring that their application works so they gain that momentum. Utilize the tools that are available to you. We've got a number of like our MAP programs or training and resources that are available because your teams might be working on a different technology as they're looking into migration. And then once you do the mobilize phase and you then actually move, you have confidence that your application is going to work. By this time, your assessment and discovery is all done. You actually migrate and then think about modernization. Customers who've taken this path of migrating first, retiring their on-premises resources, and the cost savings from that retirement is then used for the modernization. The key thing is you don't want to have both your environments running. Once you migrate, ensure that it's up and running. You have network flow, traffic coming into the new environment, and shut down your old environment. This not only results in cost savings, but it also helps your team. You don't want your teams to be managing two separate environments, different runbooks for what's in the cloud versus what's running on premises, or even have to be worrying about like patching on-premises servers or taking care of like security incidents, for example. As you see, that migration strategy that you set is going to be really critical. And there's different strategies that are available to you, starting with retire, retain, relocate, all the way to refactor. And as you can see, the level and effort is going to vary depending on what strategy that you choose. No matter what the strategy is, the important phase, I'll stress again, is that discovery and assessment. As you look at all your data on premises or wherever you are migrating from, categorize it into the kind of application and what needs to be moved. There might be applications that you want to move into a SaaS model, for example. There might be applications that need to be retired, or there might be specific licensing changes that those applications will stay on premises. So understand and discover what those is, and then set what strategy applies for those applications. No matter what strategy you set, it could be retire or refactor, some of the variables here you see, the discovery, assess, or prioritizing, these remain the same. You still want your teams to do validation no matter what strategy they set. This is where I think customers who have on-premises VMware resources that need to quickly migrate into the cloud without having to do any code changes, without having to refactor their environment, VMware Cloud on AWS comes in. You're quickly able to bring up a similar software-defined data center stack in the cloud, pick your configuration, and vMotion your workloads from on-premises into the cloud seamlessly. You don't have to think about that code changes, your VMware admins knowing to know how to operate in the cloud. It's the same vCenter platform, it's the same vSAN and NSX that your team is probably used to. We also have other methodologies, depending on what you choose your strategy, retain, retire, and each, as you can see here, each has its own path that you would take in terms of strategy as you think about executing them. Now, coming back to that people, process, and technology, now that we talked about scope, strategy, and timeline, some of the best practices we've learned from customers like you, starting with people, having that single-threaded leadership is going to be really critical. Why is this? You have different teams, and everybody wants to do their own thing, which is considered right. You want to have that single-threaded leadership that can bring the vision together for these teams and pull them in when needed. Having that executive support and a single-threaded leader is very, very critical. This also enables that collaboration between your teams that normally don't talk to each other. I've talked to customers, when I talk to like VMware admins on premises or IT architects, they don't talk to their cloud team, so they have no connection between their cloud teams. So we have to pull in these teams to talk to each other. Utilize the training that's available because things might change depending on what strategy you choose. Your destination environment when you're going from point A to point B might be different. So you want to make sure your folks are all trained and well equipped with what's on point B. The next is process. This is where you want your folks to gain momentum quickly. Doing a POC, for example, is one of the best ways to gain that momentum quickly. Large-scale migrations have so many factors that come in. The least you want is to make sure you don't want to move an application and then say, hey, my latency is high. I don't think this is going to work. You want to make sure you do a POC upfront, test it out, and then do your actual migration. It's also important, this goes back to the timeline piece we talked about. It's not that one end destination. Make sure there's phases for your teams and set that success criteria for those phases. And the last is technology. If there's one thing in technology that I would ask you to look very thoroughly is automation. You don't want any manual work to like delay your migration process. Make sure you have the right toolings and also automation in place so that it is seamless. Of course, no migration is going to be seamless. There's going to be hiccups that come along the way. But the more you automate, the less chances of those hiccups. With that, I'll pass it on to Rajiv, who's here to share his experience and Aeon's experience with VMware Cloud on AWS.
Thanks, Aarti. Appreciate it. Rajiv Khanna, I'm the CIO for Aeon. And I'm going to talk about the project that we ran through. But before I get into it, really a little bit about Aeon itself, right? And I'm not sure how many people know Aeon. If you happen to be a Manchester United fan, you may have seen the Aeon name on their shirts a while ago. And that's where most people recognize us from. But we are a B2B predominantly. 50,000 person company across the globe. We are in the business of helping our clients make better decisions. We are a professional services firm focused on risk, retirement, and health. So if you think about how do a large enterprise or a small enterprise, how do they cover and protect their risk and their assets? Similarly, they need advice on health coverage for their employees and their colleagues. That's what we do, and that's our business. As I said, 50,000 employees. We operate in about 120 countries. So pretty good global presence. I think we cover a large majority of the globe through this work. And obviously, I won't go through all of the numbers, but you can see the numbers that we have visibility into. So a lot of this, what we do, is grounded in data. And we have visibility across these aspects of risk, retirement, and health, and talent that is driven through 140,000 clients across the globe, and we collect a lot of data, and that's how we advise back, right? So that's the industry that we're in. We fall into perhaps a few different categories: professional services, financial services, insurance within financial services. So that's Aeon. A bit more about Aeon technology. This is what we call tech markers. This is not about strategy. And a lot of what Aarti just talked about, right, is you're going to see that in our plan and what we do. So our strategy, this particular slide is probably about 4 years old, and it's actually held to the test of time, right? So if you think about these 5 categories, and frankly, it's not a rocket science, and a lot of folks sitting in this audience going, yeah, we have one of those, or we may call it something different. But the point being is this is a lot of what a lot of organizations are going through, and Aeon is not unique in that aspect. So Cloud Smart, we have been on a journey to move things to the cloud. And 5 years ago, I would have said, you have to modernize, you have to re-architect before you move. That our story and our position in that aspect has changed over time because of the new capabilities that have come along, specifically in this case, VMware Cloud. So we are taking a slightly different approach now. Second part of this is around any device, anywhere, right? Any. This is really about our colleagues and clients being able to get to what they need from any place. And cloud enablement is a core component to it. Data first, I talked about data. We have lots and lots of data. We are changing how we think about data across when we think about application design. In the past, it's usually you create an application, there are certain transactions, the transactions generate data, and then you come along after the fact and say, hey, what do I do with this data? What else can I do with it? We are trying to actually change that in our early part of the design process to say, how do I put data in the center of that design? The next one is really around our platforms. This is intended to create these platforms that start with process, technology, and operations, really end-to-end delivering that capability for our clients and colleagues in a platform format, and really creating these global capabilities because, as I said, we operate in 120 countries, and we have lots and lots of stuff, and company has grown through a lot of M&A activity, and as a result, we've collected lots of assets. We're trying to get to a more common platform approach over time. And the last one is really, if you do all of the other things right, idea to launch gets better. How do I go from delivering a new capability in a much faster way? That's really what the idea to launch is intended to cover. And as I said, these are markers. We don't call them strategies. And these markers actually help define our investment strategy. How do we make decisions on a year-by-year basis? And obviously, all of this is underpinned by security. So I don't want to sort of say, hey, you don't see security on the page, because we believe that has to be embedded and it has to be part of the design and everything that we do on a regular basis. So moving on to the specific opportunity and the project that I want to talk about, we came across a situation where we have a managed service provider that the contract is coming to an end. And we had to make a choice. The choice is, either we do a refresh in place with that provider, we migrate out of the provider to some colo facility or some other things that we manage ourselves, or move to the cloud. We obviously, the reason I'm here, because we decided to go to VMware Cloud as our choice. To the timeline aspect that was mentioned before, we have a set timeline, because frankly, that deadline is set for us based on the contract expiration date. And so we have been working in a very tight timeline. It's an opportunity for us to get new capabilities. When we think about current setup we have is really around data center DR versus an application. In this, but as we do the migrations, we are getting to an application level DR capabilities along the way. Security posture, same thing. We can improve our security posture as part of the migration. And the last one is, as I've mentioned, we work in financial services, so very heavily regulated industry. So privacy and compliance is a critical component, so we want to make sure that we are setting ourselves up. And for that matter, obviously, there are new compliance frameworks and regulatory requirements that are coming on every day. So we want to set ourselves up to be the most flexible setup as possible. So a little bit about our application landscape, right? We are, as I mentioned, we've grown through lots of M&A activities, and as a result, we've ended up with quite a bit of legacy. So we have monolithic application estate that is complex to manage. There's technical debt that's been built in over time, and there's lots of applications, right? So the environment that we are talking about is predominantly for our EMEA data centers, and even within just that one geography, we have lots of applications. And as an organization, we're not necessarily set up to be agile. How do I deliver new capabilities faster? That goes back to our desire and journey that we are on for the idea to launch to get to a better, faster delivery. So what are we trying to get out of this, right? From a business outcome perspective, we want to support the revenue growth. We want to get to market faster. We want to do this as cost effectively as possible, but at the same time, manage our risk. We don't want to go out and just do things willy-nilly and cause other issues from a cyber perspective or data loss issues. In terms of our technical markets, this program gets us closer to our Cloud Smart marker, allows us to create an environment where we can move faster and enable our business platforms. In terms of capabilities, software-defined data centers, application-level DR, access to next door PaaS services and capabilities that are native to AWS. So we genuinely believe this is our bridging strategy. We are creating a bridge to the time when we can actually modernize and refactor everything within our environment. But this allows us to get to a step closer. We're running on top of AWS. It allows us to pick and choose what native services and which application needs them at what point they're easily accessible. And we want to be able to replicate this design across other regions. We are starting out in EMEA, and we want to be able to do this across the other regions as well. From a benefits perspective, cost is a part of it. How do we create operational efficiency along the way? Eliminate the need for lifecycle management. I think we all sort of struggled with hardware lifecycle management. I go every few years or every year, I go into our CFO and ask for more money because I need to do a refresh. We are trying to get out of that cycle and generally get to an operating cost basis so that we don't have to do that on a regular basis. And then obviously trying to optimize our life. There's a cost component to that licensing that we want to deal with. So where do we end up? It's a VMware Cloud on AWS. That's the solution that we picked. Obviously, the native services in AWS underpin what we do, but it allows for the software-defined data center, NSX type capabilities, the things that the team is familiar with, they know how to operate, and be able to do this in a quick fashion. Right? We didn't, as I mentioned, we are working on a very tight timeline, 8 to 10 months to get all the migrations done. So we didn't have the opportunity, or we purposely chose not to modernize everything along the way. We've done some of that, and we've gone through all of the 7 Rs in terms of we retired a few things, we are going to refactor a few things, but for the most part, it's actually really just migrating and lift and shift along the way. So guiding principles, once again, migrate first, modernize later. Rationalize as much as we can along the way, but that's not the primary goal. We picked 4 different ways to do the migrations. Primary one is VMware Cloud on top of AWS. We do have some legacy. We have iSeries, we have some Solaris, we have a few other things. So we are finding solutions. So for iSeries, we are going to a managed service provider to have them support us in that environment. And similarly for Solaris, we're just moving it into a different colo, and then the rest of it is going to go to, or has gone to, AWS and VMware Cloud. As I mentioned, 10 months, 280 applications, 1,800 workloads, lots of data movement. We need to be done by end of the year. I can stand here towards the end of November and say, looking good. We are literally 3 weeks out before the year is pretty much over for us. And we are going to actually hit the deadline to get this thing done. So this doesn't happen by ourselves, right? I have a great team, and I want to take the opportunity to actually thank the entire Aeon team to do all the heavy lifting that they've done. But it didn't happen by ourselves. We have a partner ecosystem, and AWS is part of that ecosystem. AWS services helped us with the infrastructure migration. They helped us with setting up wave planning. They've been with us throughout the whole process from an end-to-end perspective on every weekend when we do the cutover. There's tooling that we've consumed that has helped us create the environment that we have. And it actually helps with the discovery, be able to find the dependencies, optimize the environment, and that tooling has been instrumental in how, once again, 10 months, a lot of work, you need to have lots of data, and there's dependencies, right? How do you decide which set of applications and workloads move on which weekend? You need to identify the dependencies along the way. And the tooling has been instrumental in that work. So, the reason I'm here is because things have gone well. And if they hadn't gone well, I wouldn't be here, right? But what has worked? Business priority, we spent a lot of time late last year, early this year, to get our business alignment. When I say business, this isn't just technology. I needed to get every regional leader, every business leader who has an application in this environment to make sure they understood what we were doing, why we were doing it, and what is the value to them. and ensure that they weren't adding scope in the middle of doing a lot of these things to say, oh, I need to do a big major upgrade or we want to do something different. So we had to spend a lot of time getting that alignment done. The technology aspect of it, in terms of technology, we did a lot, we did the POC. We proved out the base capabilities before we even thought about migrating or before we started talking about application migration. We proved that out with a small subset, POC, make sure all the tooling, end-to-end dependency, the migration aspects, our playbook was tested multiple times over before we got into the mass waves. And from that point of view, because of the fact that we did that work early on, the core platform and technology was not the risk that we were worried about because of the investments that we made early. Partner ecosystem. We have a great team within Aeon, but at the same time, for a project like this, we need help. So AWS professional services, along with other partners, were instrumental in doing the work. We've done weekend after weekend of these cutovers, and these partners are with us every weekend. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, leading up to those weeks, you do a lot of prep work, Monday through Thursday. Friday is the cutover, and you're doing the cutover and testing on Friday, over the weekend. Because we obviously want to make sure the business is up and running on Monday morning. On the process side, be very clear on what you are trying to establish. We made it very clear. There were people, there were application teams and business areas wanted to modernize before we did the migration. They didn't want to do the two-step move. But we were very clear as to why we're doing it. Be agile, because the scope does shift throughout the program. So the program has to be flexible enough to be able to accommodate those shifts along the way. We turned this program red multiple times over. And sort of the way I would say is that this program is going to finish in a few weeks, but it will never turn green. It's amber throughout the whole thing. And that sort of keeps the attention and focus. And it generally has risk. Every wave has its own risk. So this isn't just to try to manipulate the team. There's a real good reason as to why we want to do that, but we were very transparent as to why things were happening. And the last, within the people aspect is, you want to be very clear who's playing what role. The accountability, because we have a partner ecosystem, we have the teams within our organization, there's a cloud team, there's the VMware team, but they work very well together, and you want to make sure the accountability and the decision rights are very, very clear. And without people, we couldn't get this thing done, right? There's lots of dedicated folks that are not in this room from Aeon and our partners who have worked tirelessly to get this thing done, and it has not been as smooth as I may make it sound out to be. It's just not, there's lots of work. And there's always lessons learned. What would we do different? Because we're not done, right? I'm talking about one region. We have other 3-4 regions that we have to go after. We still have footprints that we want to figure out. We believe this is our strategy and a way forward for us to get out of the data center business. I talked about business priority. We spend a lot of time, but there's always more that you can do. It's an ongoing thing. This isn't a one and done. You have to do this over and over again throughout the program, because the business dynamics will change as you're running the program, that the business priorities will change as you're running the program, and frankly, people may get tired of it, and they want to go do something different. So you have to re-emphasize the priority along the way. From a process perspective, simplification is our friend. Automation simplification is going to be critical as to how do you simplify the process, and is the process repeatable? Because if you're trying to move 300 applications and 2,000 workloads, you need something that's going to work over and over and over again. The application ownership, once again, this part of the level setting is, in the early days of the program, it was viewed as an infrastructure program. The change that we had to make was, hey, no, this is a technology program, not just an infrastructure program. That means application and infrastructure are working together, and that engagement is absolutely critical. And discovery, right? Things change. We are not a static organization. Things are changing. We are making thousands of changes on a weekly basis. So discovery becomes extremely critical to make sure that you are revalidating your data because things do move around and things do change. On the technology side, complexity is there, right? As I mentioned before, there's dependencies that exist, and we need to make the integration requirements may not be as simple as they seem on paper. You move one thing, the other thing breaks, or for that matter, you have to integrate with the backend systems that may not be part of the migration. So that work early on is going to be extremely helpful. In our environment, and perhaps for a lot of the folks here, compliance and regulatory and client contracts are something that you can't forget about. So we spend a lot of time. We underestimated the amount of effort it would take and amount of time it was necessary to get all of the local country level approvals from various different authorities. In certain cases, we have client contracts that require notification. And those things we underestimated, and trying to figure that out upfront would be extremely helpful because it just helps program go smoother. And we've hit some roadblocks, and that's a lesson learned. As much as I love all of our partners, we perhaps have ended up with too many, because that becomes an orchestration challenge for our teams and the program team to figure out how are you going to orchestrate all the different different partners. And back to the accountability, you have to be very clear when you have partners as to who owns what piece of the puzzle when you're doing these migrations. And I said, we have great partners, but maybe simplification would help. So what's next? As I mentioned, we are 3 weeks away from program completion, and it's looking good. And if there's a piece of wood, I want to knock on it. From that point of view, we wanted to repeat this recipe across the different parts of the world. But at the same time, we want to take those lessons learned and do it better. Do it faster, better, cheaper, all of those things. Based on the success of this program, we are revising our overall hosting strategy. We don't believe that standing up another colo is the answer going forward. We don't believe another closet is going to help us because we have lots of them. I mentioned 120 countries. That translates to about 650 offices. And you end up with a bunch of closets, stuff sitting everywhere, and that's clearly not where we want to be. And then, as I said, we finish EMEA, and we move on to the next set of regions over the next coming years. So that's our story, and thank you very much. I appreciate the time. Arthi, back to you.
Thank you. And as you heard from Rajiv and their transformation, technology becomes a key once you've figured the strategy and your process, et cetera. And oftentimes, I'm just going to cover quickly what's available to you so that as you go home, as you go back to your room, and as you go back, you take advantage of what's available to you to make your migrations much more smoother. When you sit down and plan, hey, I'm going to use VMware Cloud on AWS, there's applications that probably can take in downtime, your dev test workloads. There are applications that are mission critical that cannot take in a downtime. Determine which bucket these applications fall under. What's available to you as part of the service today is the VMware Hybrid Cloud Extension, HCX. It's an add-on that's available as part of the service that takes care of that migration orchestration and automation for you. It's got built-in features for that different buckets that I talked about. Do you want to do a hot migration or do you want to do a cold migration? And has additional features like WAN optimization that can help you with your latency and performance considerations. As we sit down, some of the lessons that you saw from Aeon, I typically divide it into pre-migrations and post-migrations. There's a lot of things to consider as you go through before starting to migrate. A lot of things sometimes take that additional time that could delay your timeline, so it's important to consider some of these. For example, like network setup takes time. We've had customers who started migrating workloads over the internet link, and of course, the latency was not as what they expected. And then we had to go in and help them get set up with a direct connect, which obviously takes time. There's a lot of other things here. That dependency mapping that Rajiv talked about, that's probably what I would call like the biggest lessons, to sit down and understand what does your application interact with, what teams does it touch on, how are they going to be interacting once this application migrates over to the destination point B. As we think about post-migration, yeah, we've migrated, success, but going back, ensure you turn off things that are not necessary. If there's a data center contract that's coming to an end, you get rid of it. There's also other things. Start focusing on security is always job zero. So start focusing on how can you lock down now that your migration is actually complete. You have a working environment on the other side. This is also a good time to start thinking about that native services that was mentioned. What can you do? Do you have an application that needs analytics? Now you're within the cloud to take advantage of the analytics services that's available to you and optimize for performance. That could be shrinking your nodes or taking advantage of, for example, Amazon Redshift to run analytics and see what you need as you want to optimize for performance. Since the last reInvent till date, there's been a couple of key launches across our compute, storage, networking, and backup, of course. And I'll quickly cover these. We launched a new instance type, i4i.metal. This is the next-gen Ice Lake processor to the i3, which was our first instance type. As you can see, more compute, memory, and network. So in general, it's a general-purpose instance type for VMware Cloud on AWS, and we're seeing slowly customers starting to adopt the new generation of instance types that provides them better price-to-performance ratio. VMware Cloud on AWS today, one of the most common feedbacks we get from customers is, hey, vSAN's great. We like the storage that comes with it. However, we have a storage-intensive application. And anytime I need to add more storage, you're asking me to add a new node, whereas I don't need the compute or the memory that comes with it. So we've been working on this for some time now and launched 2 new offerings that came out this year. One is the VMware Cloud Flex Storage, and the other is the support for Amazon FSx for NetApp ONTAP. The VMware Cloud Flex Storage is based on VMware's recent Datrium acquisition. Both of these support supplemental data stores. So as you have more data, depending on what the requirement is from a performance perspective price, you could choose one of them. Looking at that Amazon FSx for ONTAP, a number of our customers use NetApp ONTAP today on premises. And as they think about accelerating their migrations, this can help them, because a number of those features that you see with your on-premises NetApp ONTAP is available to you with the FSx for NetApp ONTAP. OK. A number of customers have given us the feedback that networking can get complex. So what we want to do is basically simplify this for them. No matter they have connectivity from their on-premises to VMware Cloud on AWS, or between VMware Cloud on AWS SDDCs that you may be running for DR purposes, or to your native AWS services that your application interacts with. We launched the VMware Transit Connect. So the Transit Connect is based out of the AWS Transit Gateway. That hub acts as that central piece of connectivity between every destination that you see. That could be your on-premises, could be another region, or could be another SDDC. So we launched 2 features, basically the inter-region peering and the intra-region peering, that allows you to just pair your Transit Connects so that you have that full networking capabilities. Don't have to create layer 3 VPNs and have that overhead of managing them. And finally, backup and DR becomes critical for any workload. And we do have a large number of partners that support this today. You might be using them on premises or in the cloud, Veeam, Commvault, et cetera. We also launched the support this year for the AWS backup for VMware. So it allows you to back up your workloads and restore them not only to a VMware Cloud on AWS SDDC, but also to on-premises if required. So as we think about wrapping up the session, one of the key things I do want to say is that gaining that momentum. If there's one thing I would say, go back, ask your team to start playing around with an environment and test it out so they're comfortable doing the actual migration itself. We've got a rapid trial program that's available for all customers and partners that you can take advantage of. This is the first session for the whole week for VMware Cloud. We do have a series of workshops and other sessions that will dive into some of the areas like the FSX that we talked about, the DR options, and resiliency. So I'll wait for you folks to take a picture, but attend some of these sessions. Except the ENT223, the others won't be recorded, so I highly encourage you joining some of those sessions. I'm going to be here outside, but you can always reach out to your AWS account team or the VMware account team to come have a conversation on how can we help you with that strategy, process, and technology piece. I once again sincerely appreciate everybody joining me and Rajiv today, and happy to chat with you after the session. Thank you for coming.